You're listening to the Rent Roll Radio Show with Sterling Chapman. Hey, Rent Roll Radio listeners, welcome back to the show. As always, I'm your host, Sterling Chapman. Today, we are joined by Jorge Abreu. George, I get that right?
Not really, but it's all good.
I hear you. George is, I was just telling him before we started recording, you cannot turn around in 2022 or 2021 for that matter without bumping into him. He is making moves all over the place. For those of our listeners that haven't been in any multifamily meetup group or conference over the last 2 years, George is the owner of J&T Construction, and he is also the owner of Elevate Commercial Investment Group, and they have been on fire recently. So, George, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Sterling.
So, can you tell our listeners your background, kind of where you came from, what you were doing before real estate, and kind of how you got where you are today?
Absolutely, man. So, born and raised in South Florida, good old Miami. Went to university, stayed in Miami. So I went to Florida International University, was studying to be an engineer, electrical engineer. And I really only went down that path because I was really good in math, really good with numbers. But man, I think it was like sophomore year. I knew I didn't want to be an engineer. And I wanted to create something larger than myself. You know, I wanted to open up my business, but I had no idea what. So I think like my junior year, I spent a ton of time in the library because you couldn't find everything online like you can now. Reading different books and kind of just trying to figure out what I was gonna do, and kept kind of going back to real estate investing. Like I saw a lot of successful individuals that built their wealth off of real estate investing, or they built their wealth with something else, but then they grew it to another level using real estate. So started going down that path. You know, I got my license, my real estate license, because I didn't know any better. And I got my mortgage broker license, same reason. You know, I was just trying to get involved in real estate.
Just get close to it.
Yeah. Started doing some of those deals on the side, and still while going to school and getting my degree. And then finally hired a coach, Ron LeGrand, single family investing coach.
How much did you pay, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh man, back then, so this was about 16 years ago. I want to say it was like 30 grand.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, inflation hasn't, I think most of them are like 40 now.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was well worth it, man. Went to the events, got the knowledge, and right off the bat, I think we made 20 grand on our first wholesale deal. So by that time, once I got things started, I had graduated with my engineering degree. I had gone to work for UPS in the engineering department while still doing this on the side. And then finally, I was doing enough of the real estate on the side where it just made sense to quit, you know, so I quit my W-2. That was roughly about 15 years ago. Since then, I've been doing real estate full time. Started with the single family, started the construction company a few years after to scale the single family. And then about 4.5 years ago, I got introduced to multifamily syndications, and my mind was blown. You know, I spent at that point, 10 years or so just grinding it out and, you know, scaling the single family and the construction company, and a lot of hours, a lot of sleepless nights, and it was all trying to build this generational wealth and build this something larger than myself. And I was struggling with the single family, man. I kept running into some brick walls, and when I got introduced to the multifamily syndication, I was just like, that's it, man. That's gotta be it. I can buy 100 units, 200 units right off the bat. So I put all my energy and focus towards multifamily. I sold whatever single family I had at that point. I stopped doing any construction so I had taken on third party work with the construction work as well. Stopped doing anything to do with single family and started focusing 100% on multi. Since then, we've acquired roughly around right under 6,200 units, exited another 1,500 or so of those. We've got quite a bit in the pipeline right now as well. And hopefully hitting my goal this year is to hit at least 10,000 in acquisitions, 10,000 units, and just keep growing it.
Awesome. So did you use your construction company as an end to get like what does this transition look like from one day I'm buying single family, which is a completely different animal for a lot of reasons, but from a one like, high level difference is the marketing involved, right? When you're buying single families, you're not as focused on the type of marketing you're doing today towards investors. So walk me through that transition.
Yeah. So to me, multifamily is more relationship based, really, than single family. Like, shoot, you got people now wholesaling deals all online. They never even go see the property, and like, you don't really have to build too many relationships, I guess. But multifamily, I feel like is still very old school in a sense, and not even old school. It's just it takes a team to take these properties down, and so I had to kind of change that mindset, and really start networking more, and putting myself out there, and then building those relationships, and then going back to how I made that transition. So that was one thing, right? I needed to change my mindset there. And luckily I had the construction company. So, I don't suggest anybody to stop what they're doing right away and just go straight into multifamily. It takes a bit to get going. Yeah, it takes a bit to start making money in this industry. So luckily I was able to just stop the single family because, I still did have the construction going on. I still did have, I was already renovating multifamily for other investors, and I was already doing like commercial tenant build outs and stuff. So I had that income coming in. So I was able to just stop the single family. I built a good team around me. So I didn't really have to touch it too much. So I was able to focus a good portion of my efforts towards multifamily investing and building those relationships.
So I know a lot of people that have worked with you in one capacity or another, whether it's raising capital for your deals so tell us a little bit about that, because we touched on it. You said it's very much a team sport, and I get this conversation a lot because I still do both. I have, multifamily syndications and a bunch of single family houses, and I was speaking on it last night and somebody was like, do you like your single families more just because you own them all and you're not sharing it with all these other people? And I was like, not really. So can you elaborate on like what your role in these teams are, what type of partners you have, how you prefer to put them together, how it all's connected for those of our listeners that aren't, as embedded in the industry?
Yeah. Look, there's a lot of different transitioned in it. So in the beginning, it was, the one aspect we didn't have was equity raising. So in our single family, we had a couple private lenders that put up the money. They trusted us. Boom, we got it done. And then, at some point we started using our own money, make sure private lenders are our own money. But we had never really raised equity. So the first couple deals partnered up with somebody that had that experience and that could also sign on a loan with us and be a KP. They had a couple more multifamily loans. So we missed that. We filled that spot and we did everything else. We found the deal. We did the asset management part of it, et cetera. Now, where we're at now, we can cover all the aspects, right? We can sign on the loan, we can raise the equity, but what we do is it helps us scale because we don't have to do everything for every deal.
Sure.
Somebody can bring the deal to us and can maybe help in other aspects. There's a lot of work that goes into just closing the deal, transactional. Like,
Sure.
man, it's some of these are, I'm in a loan assumption right now, and it's like taking over my life. But so we leverage our partners in that sense, right? And then we can come in, somebody brings us a deal, or somebody tells us, hey, look, I've got all this, I can raise this much equity, but I have no idea where to put it. We're like, well, perfect. We know how to find deals. Let's partner. So that's yeah.
What do you do for acquisitions? It has been a notoriously tough market to buy in over the last couple of years, and you are just popping up with deals left and right. What is your secret sauce for being able to source so much product?
Man, just being able to cover a lot of area, and you see a lot of deals, but that we're closing on a lot of deals, but we've seen so many more, come through we've passed on so many. And it's internally, we have our systems on and looking for deals constantly. And then, like I said, we also have a lot of other investors wanting to partner with us, looking for our deals. And then, I started a coaching program at the beginning of this year to kind of help in that sense too. I had investors bringing me deals already, and I was like, well, some of them were making it kind of difficult to go through what they were bringing me. I'm like, well, why don't I coach them on what to find, how to find it, how to present it.
Is the coaching program $40,000?
It is not.
The coaching is a hot button topic in the industry, right? So all throughout real estate investing, because there's a million coaches that don't have much real estate at all, and that's their like primary business. And some of us balk at coaching, although I'll tell you, I've interviewed enough uber successful guys who went and wrote Joe Fairless a $50,000 check and then turned around 2 years later, they got $100 million in real estate. So it's hard to balk at the concept,
Right.
But I love the coaching from what you just said. I'm not going to make my money getting them to pay me for the coaching. I'm going to make my money when they go out and find deals and we partner on them together.
100%. The what I'm charging is pretty minimal. And it's not because I'm not trying to open an educational business. Sure. That's not my thing. I just want to teach others how to find deals so that we can partner on them and grow together. And you don't see that a lot. At least I haven't seen it a lot. There's a couple others out there right now that is pretty similar, but for the most part, it's what you said. They do a couple deals maybe a year, but 80% of their business is the educational piece.
Yeah. No, I'm like, it's training an army of acquisition folks that are out there. Yeah, and it's everybody wins, right? You're helping them. They're getting a ton of value out of it. You're getting a ton of value out of it.
And then we teach them everything else too. Like once we're 100% transparent, once they're in a deal with us, they see everything, and they really start learning the ins and outs. And I understand that, eventually they're probably not going to want to partner, or maybe they do want to keep partnering, but they'll have the ability, if they want to, they can go do it all.
Sure. So what's your criteria for acquisition? Do you have like a simple, like back of the napkin, we need to hit this IRR, we need to
so
hit this equity
metrics,
multiple?
Yeah, definitely on the returns. And it's ever changing. Now the asset class and all that has really grown. We used to be pretty specific. We were looking for the ugliest of the ugliest. 100 plus units has always been our target for the most part. My first deal was 37 units. I didn't enjoy it. Sure. I like to have staff on site.
Yep.
So 100 plus units, and then we would look for the ugliest of the ugliest and come in and really transform that property. I would still take those projects on. I still enjoy those. but the price has got to be right, which is
Sure.
very hard to find right now on a deal like that. I'd rather pay a little bit more for something that's newer.
I've seen you close on some A-class stuff lately.
Yeah. We've had success on some of the newer stuff as well. Mainly developers that just aren't really focused on pushing the rents and just want to sell it, build it and sell it. That has been very successful. And yeah, so and then as far as returns, we still try to, like, on a minimum, I want to try to be at a 16% IRR, an 8% cash on cash, average cash on cash, and maybe like a 1.8 equity multiple. That IRR can maybe start. We're looking at possibly some more long-term or permanent debt, so that our IRR may even drop a little bit more. But yeah, it also depends on the deal. I mean, we're doing some hotel to multifamily. Those returns look a lot better because it's more of a heavy value add.
And you're using your construction company, so when you do all your value adds, correct?
Correct.
So there's a ton of efficiencies there. I mean, you're going in at cost versus me, who's got to hire a third party and pay a premium.
Right. And we know it's going to get done. We know how it's going to get done. We know the quality. Like, it's nice, man. I'm not saying everybody's got to open a construction company to be successful, but if not, make sure you hire somebody that knows what they're doing. Yeah,
absolutely. So I guess the big glaring question for everybody, but somebody who's so heavily in acquisition mode, I really am interested in getting your take on the economy, the interest rate. What do you see happening over the next few years? What do you see happening in the interest rate environment and the overall multifamily environment and the overall economy?
It's a great question.
I know, right?
Look, man, things have gotten a little rocky, right? You got the rates rising. You got the Fed telling us pretty much it's going to keep rising. They're going to keep raising the rate. You got these massive rate caps. The price to get a rate cap right now, it's pretty up there. I mentioned a loan assumption, right? So, I mean, we shied away from those. We stayed far away from those for a bit, and now they're looking a lot more attractive. Right. I'm not saying we won't do bridge loans anymore. I don't think we're there yet. I still not convinced on how far the Fed is going to go on these rates. On the increases. I think they would be,
it's more of a scare tactic than a follow.
I think so, man. I do think so. I think it'd be silly of them to really go hard on it and crash the economy in a sense. We're just trying to slow it down, I believe. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely looking at all different types of debt now. I mean, bridge was our go-to for the last 2 years, right? Like, it was no doubt we're going bridge, boom, easy, great terms. Now, shoot, I'm even, we did during COVID, we did 2 HUD deals. Maybe looking at that again. So yeah.
What other changes?
I don't have the crystal ball, but
right. What other changes are you looking at implementing based off of the, kind of what we
the
shakiness?
Yeah. Just being really cautious when we're buying and looking at these deals. We're location, right? We're looking for really good locations. Areas that people are still going to want to live in, and if the market gets real soft, wherever there's not oversupply. So we want to make sure we can keep our rents where they're at, and obviously raise them as needed per our business plan.
Now, I know why I can obvious the negative impacts of the rising interest rates on us as operators and our carrying out our business plan are obvious, but from a rental demand standpoint, are you in the camp of raising interest rates actually help our rental demand because it's a barrier of entry to homeownership?
Yes, but I think there's a lot more that plays with that. I mean, it depends on how bad it hurts the economy. Who else are you hurting by doing that? And then
Sure.
are they having to let staff go or whatnot? So a lot of different factors, but yes, I agree in general. And same thing with the rising prices of homes. You have people that just can't buy a house.
Right.
Um,
A rising tide lifts all boats, but a sinking one drops.
yes, correct. So do I think rents are gonna, in certain areas, maybe, right? But we're targeting the areas where we don't think, there's lower supply, there's a lot of demand, people want to be there, the economy's strong. Those are the locations we're looking for. And in those locations, I don't see us having issues with rents, as long as our capital stack and our debt is set in place for being able to hold, through
Long term.
this rocky market, we're going to be solid.
What does your investor avatar look like? What is probably your target? Where do you get most of your capital from?
Oof. So I mean, maybe putting aside, we have private equity partners, that come in and take a big chunk of some of our deals, especially the larger ones.
I more mean like, what's the makeup of your retail investor? The guy
Yeah,
who's
yeah,
putting
yeah,
up
common
50,
equity.
100, 200 grand.
We usually do 100K minimums and on our deals, and we've had pretty good success with that. We'll, as managers, we can always let somebody in for less, and if we feel like, it's not their last $50,000,
Yeah.
and it could lead to more, then we let them in. We've got a lot of accredited investors. I mean, most of our deals are 506Cs.
Mhm.
Um,
Were you always that way, or did you start with B's and then move to C's?
First couple were Bs, but I mean, I want to say we jumped on the C bandwagon pretty quick, man. I want to say we were obviously not one of the first, but definitely there was not a lot of people doing it while we were doing it. Put it that way. And some people were, I was getting messages like, "Oh, you can't do that." You can't market that deal. I'm like, yes, I can, man. It's so yeah, and we get, look, a lot is from the leads coming in are from doing podcasts, from speaking at events, from social media, being active on social media. We don't pay for lists, or we don't do a lot of paid marketing in general. We've done some ads here and there, and we'll probably starting to build out the investor relations. Even I feel like we've left a lot of money on the table, just not being able to get to all our leads. I mean, we have leads daily at this point, and so we've brought in a partner for investor relations, and they're really starting to tackle that. So I think we'll probably be able to double our equity raises, and yeah.
Awesome. What advice do you have for somebody who's just getting started in the industry?
Get started.
Yeah.
Take action. No. But well, no and yes. I mean, for real. Sometimes I see investors overthink it, and
Sure.
you definitely need to take action. Focus is huge. That was a huge turnaround for myself. I was spread way too thin. There's so much noise out there right now, between crypto
I
and
want self-storage. I want crypto. I want Airbnbs, shiny
yeah.
red balls everywhere.
Like it's not till now, 6,000 plus units in and 4.5 years later and all that, that now I'm looking at a couple different asset classes,
Sure.
or, um,
What asset classes are you looking at?
mobile home parks, interest me, just because nothing's affordable anymore. I mean, even your C-class stuff, we keep,
Sure.
so to me, the next step would be, mobile home parks in a sense. And what's the storage has always interested me.
What I like about storage as a diversification play is the political risk associated with owning people's homes, right? You look at New York or California, like you can't kick people out. And that sentiment is, I'm sure, going to spread, to other larger cities. But people don't really get emotional about other people's stuff, right? Yeah, they don't want you to throw Susie out on the street, but they don't give a shit if you put Susie's old piano out on the street.
Right, right. Good point. Good point. I like that. I wonder, I don't know, do they have more restrictions on storage in New York and California?
We'll have to look
Probably.
into that.
Yeah, so I mean, those two, I'm sure we'll be doing something soon on those, but still mainly focused on multifamily. Yeah, man, and
What would
just go
what
ahead.
would you say to the new investor who says is now a good time to start because of XYZ? I had people tell me, in 2018, the market's about to crash. I'm gonna wait till it crashes and then I'm gonna get in and buy everything while it's low. Or, the interest rates are about to rise. I don't want to buy, you know what I mean? What would you say to that investor who's got those excuses or objections as to why, April 13th, 2022 is not a good time to start in this industry?
Man, to me, the easiest thing is look at the inflation report. 11% is what they're saying. I think it came out today or,
What they'll admit
um,
to.
right, right. So imagine what it really is. So if you're just keeping money on the sideline, you're literally losing money by a large rate. um, it's a hedge against the inflation. I mean, that's it, if your property's cash flowing and you've got the knowledge and if you don't fully have the knowledge yet, right? Make sure you're partnering with somebody that does.
Sure.
And what's the alternative? I mean, the alternative to me is not good enough to not invest right now. And like you said, I mean, I had people telling me in 2016 that the market was gonna, was at the top. And we kept them. There's money to be made in every single type of real estate market, or cycle. Um, you just gotta have the knowledge, trust those that have been through it and know what to do and navigate it correctly.
Awesome. So I want to hop to our radio round real quick, just three quick questions to let our listeners get to know you a little bit better. The first one is, what's your favorite book?
Oh man, I'll give you a couple. Is that okay?
No, that's good.
I love traction for business. So EOS
I
system.
I finished Traction a couple weeks ago and I started Rocket Fuel today.
Nice, nice. Yeah, the whole family of them, but traction should get you started. And then Can't Hurt Me.
David Goggins.
Yeah, man, it's such a good, and I suggest you listen to that on audio just because he throws in his 2 cents after every chapter, and it's
I think I
such a
think
good story.
I think my last podcast guest recommended that as their favorite book and told me that I needed to listen to it on Audible because he throws in his 2 cents.
Dude, you have to, man.
I'm pretty sure that our guests are going to hear that on back-to-back podcasts. It's the exact same thing. You got to listen to it on Audible because it's so cool.
Yep.
What's your favorite quote?
Yeah, I'm not really good at memorizing quotes, but I'll stick with I believe Tony Robbins says energy flows. No, what is it? Where you focus is where energy flows. So it kind of goes into what I was saying earlier, man. Focus.
Absolutely. And what's your favorite thing to do outside of work? Assuming you have any time.
Nowadays, any free time I have is with my children. I got three little girls. They're my world. They play every single sport, and
Awesome.
I love sports. I played a lot of sports growing up. So yeah, that's where I spend my time.
Awesome. And where can our listeners find out more about you, get your coaching, invest with you? What's the best way to connect?
Yeah, a ton of the information. We constantly update our website. So Elevate CIG stands for Commercial Investment Group. So elevatecig.com. Just navigate through there, and you've got all our contact information. If they want to see about the coaching, it's my name, jorgeabreu.com, and that's, or in Spanish, jorgeabreu.com. And I'm sure you'll put that in the notes or whatnot.
Put it all in there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, George, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I appreciated the I started this podcast selfishly to be able to talk to people like yourself. I always want to come talk to you at a conference, but there's typically a line. So I thought it was really enjoyable.
And I'm really bad at cutting people off and like.
It's hard.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
It's hard. I really enjoy relationship building and I really enjoy one-on-one conversations, but I don't like crowds.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable because, you see somebody walking by and you really want to talk to them, but the person that's talking to you is in mid-sentence, and it turns into this whole like dance that I'm just not good at.
So bad at it, man. I'm so bad. I'm with you.
Awesome.
But yeah, man, grab me next time, man.
I definitely will. I'm sure we'll bump into each other at about 4 more conferences this year.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, George.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in to the Rent Roll Radio Show, brought to you by Crestworth Capital. We hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please hit the subscribe button and leave us a rating and review. You can also visit us at crestworthcapital.com or rentrollradio.com, or follow us on Facebook at Rentroll Radio or at Crestworth Capital. If you would like to reach us, feel free to shoot us an email at info@rentrollradio.com or sterling@crestworthcapital.com. We hope you come back next week to join us on some more of our journey. Until then, happy investing.